Okay, guys, this is it. Kind of bittersweet, but it is the last two episodes of Honestly Cavallari. Episodes 5 and 6. Today, we are going to recap them. And God, it flew by. I mean, I knew it was going to fly by. It's only 6 episodes, and it was only 4 weeks because they aired the first 2 together and the last 2 together. But God, it was over in the flash of an eye. So we're going to start with Boston Night 2, which is, of course, Craig and Austen. This was actually my favorite live podcast show. I think it was my favorite episode. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it's definitely up there. It was the most fun I had at a show. I felt like it was my personal best show. I think it's because I was just excited to talk about what happened with Craig, Austen, and I because I had never really talked about it for the most part. And there's a real friendship there. And there's an ease, at least on my end. I felt like I had no idea until I watched this how mad Craig was. I knew night of, my producer told me that they took their microphones off like you see on the show, and that they were mad. But until you actually see it firsthand, I didn't understand the magnitude of it. And so we're going to get there. We're going to get to why he was really mad, and I can understand it. But let's back up. Okay, so the episode starts with Justin and I walking around Seaport, and I really did want to go and look at the area because we had been sort of looking at Seaport, a couple specific locations for an Uncommon James store. And I'm happy that I went because Seaport was not what I had expected. I don't know. It was super industrial to me and felt like a financial district, which I say on the show. If we open up a store in Boston, I don't think that's where I would do it. So I'm happy that we went and looked around. But this was like another one of the situations where had I not been filming a TV show, I 1000% would have been like, you know what? I know I'm in Boston, but I'm exhausted. So I'm actually not going to go look at Seaport. Like I'll see it another time because I just would have been too tired. And I wanted to preserve my energy and just probably kind of been in bed all day or like maybe work out or whatever. But we, I didn't really feel like I could do that. So we did go and look at Seaport. And now looking back on it, I'm happy that we did because now we are not pursuing a store there. Also, another thing that we did, I don't know if you guys saw me post about Fallon or maybe even saw me on Jimmy Fallon, but Justin and I did go to this workout class like Jump Boston or something to that effect. And we did this workout class in these ridiculous but so fun, these like bouncy moon boot things. They almost look like a rollerblade. I think I had told you guys on the podcast before. They kind of look like a rollerblade that then has this like bouncy thing on the bottom. And it was so funny. I'm kind of bummed that got cut from the show because it would have been really great. And Jimmy Fallon and I did those on his show. And this is obviously before I knew what made it and what didn't make it. And so when I told the Fallon producer, like, this was on the show, this is going to, I think, be really funny. It made sense, not knowing that it wasn't actually going to make the show. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about the Craig and Austen of it all. And I say some of this on the show, but the reason why these particular headlines and this media frenzy was such a big deal for me was because it was the first really big thing after my divorce. And, like the first guy that I dated, this comedian after my divorce, it was written about, but it wasn't this like scandalous headline. I hadn't dealt with scandalous headlines other than my actual divorce, but those weren't even like that scandalous, I would say. I hadn't dealt with like a scandal in, if I was with my ex-husband for 10 years, this was probably a year after, like probably like 12 or 13 years. And so it was a lot for me. And this was the first time I had dealt with a scandal as a mom. And so it like really kind of rocked my world. I wanted to kind of like hide out. I remember I like went through this phase where I didn't really want to leave my house, which I know like it sounds awful, you guys, and I've gone through phases like that. That's just kind of what happens when you do go through something publicly that's like kind of a big deal and it's like something you're not too excited about. Like I went through moments like that living in LA too back in the day. But it also kind of like makes you question who's in your life, if you can trust people. And at the time, guys, I really felt like Craig and Austen were adding fuel to the fire and really trying to capitalize on this. And that was the part that really upset me, like really, really upset me. And, you know, here's the thing with these 20-minute episodes, you can only explain so much. And so really what was going through my head at the time was like how the love triangle with the three of us came about was because obviously there were rumors of Craig and I hanging out. And then Austen, like I'll never forget it, he went on Watch What Happens Live and Andy had asked him about it. And Austen almost kind of like tried to make it seem like it was actually him that was hanging out with me. So that's why then people started getting really confused. And that's where I'm sorry, but I'll just say it as a fucking veteran when it comes to this shit. I was like taking a step back and watching it from the outside being like, these motherfuckers are just adding fuel to the fire. And it really rubbed me the wrong way because I've always come from the camp of if you want something to go away, you just don't talk about it. It's that simple because then it will blow over. I say all of this and listen, where I've gotten to with my comfort level in the public is wild to me actually. And it's because of this podcast, because I'm talking into a camera by myself. I feel real comfortable and then shit goes everywhere. But even it's funny because I even look at, when I was doing the Back to the Beach podcast, Steven and I played Sip or Spill. This is how I even first heard about the game. And I remember one of the questions was rank your boyfriends in order of best to worst. And I remember being like, oh my God, I could never do that. Like I would get in so much trouble. Cut to 3 years later, I would answer that in a heartbeat. You know, I don't know. I've gotten exceptionally comfortable answering things that I quite honestly probably shouldn't be answering, even on my podcast tour, playing Sip or Spill or answering questions from the audience. Like I probably answered more than I should have, you know? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It just sort of is what it is. This podcast has made me really comfortable sharing a lot. And I have said, usually my phone's always on silent. I have said, if the Craig, Austen, and I stuff came out today, I probably wouldn't have cared. It was just where I was at 4 years ago, I guess it was. I was in a much more vulnerable state. And listen, there are zero hard feelings there. I don't think they had bad intentions or like any ill will of trying to like capitalize on it. I think it was more just at the time that was my takeaway from it. That's all. But I look back on it and I don't feel that way whatsoever. Well, is that true? I look back on it and I think they were probably excited about the attention is what I would say. I don't think they were trying to take advantage of it, but I think they were excited about it. And I think probably they didn't also know how to navigate it. You don't know how to navigate something like that until you've been through it. I mean, it took me a lot of trial and error of living through a lot of bullshit in the press to realize, you know what? If I actually just don't comment, it goes away a lot faster. But that's learned with time. So the boys are so mad in their green room and they're throwing so much shade my way. You guys, I didn't know that this was going on. Obviously, Peyton, my social media girl, came back and, you know, she said that the boys were giving me shade. And then I think, you know, a producer was like, they're not happy that you're not saying hi to them. In hindsight, 1000%, they had every right to be like, why the hell is she not saying hi to me? I really just wanted the first time that I saw them to be on stage. I mean, it was that pure of an intention. I just didn't want anything to come out before we got on stage. But yes, I realize it's not like we're going to get into the nitty gritty and be like, whatever. Like I knew I could not ask them questions that I wanted to ask on stage. So I'm glad I did end up going upstairs and saying hi to them in their green room and them having them come down to mine because yeah, they were bitter. I mean, I didn't know they were so bitter. And this is the first time I had seen Craig in years. I mean, since pre-Paige. Oh, actually, that's not true. I saw Craig and Paige at the MTV Movie Awards a few years ago. But, I mean, okay, that I saw them one time for 5 seconds. That was the only time I had seen Craig in years since, you know, I guess the last time we had hung out. Austen I had seen a few times. Austen came to Nashville. Actually, he's come a few times, and Justin and I have seen him, I think, on every occasion that he's come. So, and we've kept in touch. So I've seen Austen, but This was definitely the first time I had seen Craig in a long ass time. Austen getting makeup is so funny to me. It's so funny to me. I say this with the most love, but these boys watching this show came off like such divas. I personally think, which is really funny to me. I just think they came off like little reality TV divas, but him getting his eyebrows darkened, I was laughing so hard. So night 2 in Boston, this crowd was the best crowd. If you were there in the audience, I fucking love you. You guys were awesome. Fucking awesome. This was a Thursday night. Was this a Thursday night? I want to say it was a Thursday night. Maybe a Wednesday. Maybe this was a Wednesday. But either way, the crowd was getting a little lit. They were having fun. They showed up. This theater, I said it last week, but this was my favorite theater on the whole tour. And so I go out. I'm doing my little opening monologue. The boys are right, to the side of the stage listening. And you can tell they're like getting a little nervous because my opening monologue, they don't show a lot of it in the show. They'll show like little glimpses here and there. But the gist of my opening monologue was that, my life in the media, I've never felt like I had control over my voice. But, this is the one time in my life I want to give them something to write about. Like, let's give them some damn headlines. They do show that in the show. And then I'm like, I'm bringing out people who have been in the headlines with me to like basically talk about exactly what happened, like pull back the curtain on it. So when I'm saying that, you can tell that they're like, oh shit, like we're going to talk about all of the headlines that we were in, because I know this now, but I didn't know it at the time. I guess Craig's team had asked my producers to not bring up Paige, which by the way, is totally reasonable. That is a very normal ask. I told you guys last week on the podcast, I think it was last week, that I typically go into interviews and say, I don't want to talk about my ex-husband. Like, there are definitely requests that you can make. That is not out of the ordinary. However, he never said anything to me, so I had no idea. He did not want me to ask about Paige. Also, of course I'm going to ask you about Paige. That's the last time you and I saw each other. I want to know if you lied to me about her. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to bring up Paige? Of course I'm going to bring up Paige. Are you kidding me? Imagine if Craig came out on my podcast tour and I said nothing about him being single or about what happened with him, me, and Paige. Like, no, I'm sorry, Craig. Come on. Come on, buddy. We love you. Use your head, okay? But yeah, so Craig is nervous. Oh, yeah, he says he shouldn't be here. I'm just going to say, is he feeling a little guilty because he knows he lied? He knows he lied. I don't know. So like I said, there was this love triangle between Craig, Austen, and I. But then a second love triangle came in when Paige entered the chat. And, listen. Craig did lie to me about Paige. I actually, sorry, Craig, I love you. On the show, I went back and read our text messages and it didn't make the show. I think it didn't make it because you can't read someone else's text messages unless they sign a release for it. So, well, yeah, it's nice having my end of it. Like, you kind of needed his end too to really, really get the gist of it. Or not get the gist of it. You get the gist of it from my end, but to like really get like the full like meat and potatoes, you needed his end too. But he did lie to me about Paige. He did. Let's just put that out there. And so I think there's a little part of him that is just feeling kind of guilty and like caught red-handed. I think he has dug himself into a big old hole in the press as a whole lately. And this was just one more thing adding to it. And, but that's all I'm going to say, Craig. I will not read our text messages. I will not call you out any more than just saying, you did lie to me. You did. And I still love you. Okay, I asked the boys the worst rumor they've ever heard about themselves, and Austen says his height online was shorter than he actually is, and they're like, it was definitely Madison that changed it. That is so fucking funny to me. Also, I hope it was Madison because that is such a genius move. I'm like, if a guy pisses me off, I'm 1,000% going to go on Wikipedia and change their height to be really short. Okay, so then we play Sip or Spill, and Justin comes out to read the questions because Justin did, in fact, come up with these questions. That was not a lie. And so I think the truth or dare was like a last minute thing because there was a question, and then I think Justin was actually like, oh, that's stupid. Like, I don't want to ask that. So then he said truth or dare. I picked dare because I'm not a little bitch, and he dares me to kiss Craig on the lips. And you know, I love that the boys are acting like I wanted that. Like, I'm like, yeah. And you hear Craig say, like, my Raya date was more than a Raya date. But can I just remind you guys, I already had my shot in my hand because I was already taking my shot. I wasn't like dying to kiss Craig. I wouldn't have done it. Even if he was completely single, I still wouldn't have kissed him. And then I get off stage and he's like, by the way, if I wasn't dating someone, I would have kissed you. Like, I'm out there like, oh, Craig wouldn't kiss me. Like, bitch, I wasn't trying to kiss you either. What? But the boys get off stage and they're pissed. Craig says this is about the dumbest thing he's ever done. And I mean, I don't know. I didn't know that they were pissed. Or I guess I should say that Craig was pissed. I don't think Austen was pissed. And I get off stage and I'm so fucking hyped because I felt like that was a great show. Also on stage, I could not tell in the slightest that Craig was upset. I couldn't. And I asked the boys if they had fun and they both say yes. I'm like, well, okay, I mean, fuck. If you're going to be bitching about it, at least just say something to me and be like, I just wish you didn't ask me about Paige, or like say something. I don't do that two-faced bullshit, man. Also, you can't be two-faced or lie on camera. Like, this is reality 101, people. You just can't because you will get called out. I mean, you would think they would know this shit by now. All right, so that's episode 5. Great episode, my favorite episode. And then we go into episode 6, which is the finale, of course. And this podcast episode is with the Garcia twins, formerly known as the Bella twins, in New York City. And it starts with Justin and I driving to the city. And I will say, again, if it wasn't for a show, we would have flown. But they did give us the option before we left for tour, when we were like booking travel and everything. Production asked if we would want to drive. And Justin and I were like, yeah, actually we would, because it would be really fun for camera. So we were all in on that. And actually it was kind of fun. And we stopped at this really great cinnamon roll place too and got cinnamon rolls on the way, which I wish I could remember the name because they were fucking incredible. But so you realize very, very early on, I'm not a good co-pilot in the car. I'm better in the driver's seat. So we switch and now I'm driving. And so I have the Bellas come out for the last show because I've known them for years. I have always, from the moment I met them, just loved them so much because they're real, they're fun, they're beautiful. They've been through it in the headlines. Like, they get this world. And so, of course, with my whole theme of the podcast tour, I thought that they would be great. And because, you know, again, I just love them so much and I love strong, independent women. And I just, especially to end the tour with them, was so perfect. So in the car, they have us talking about where we should go out tonight. I think I told you guys this before. I wouldn't have gone out if it wasn't for the show, and I hate to burst everyone's bubble. I'm too much of an old lady these days. This was an exhausting week for me. It was nonstop, and I went out because I felt sort of like I had to, you know. And again, I mean, Scoot was in town in New York. This is the first show that he was coming to. So there's also a personal part of me that felt like I needed to, you know, show up for Scoot too. But we went to the gay bars. We went to Flaming Saddles, which is so funny. But okay, but we'll get there. So they also have me talking about how Harry is also in New York. And, you know, how like, oh, I basically could have made out with him. But then he was on a date with Lucy Hale the night before, which I was not upset about. I had known about Lucy Hale for months, actually. This one is for all of my parents out there. You guys have heard me talk about them a million times and for good reason, but I want to talk to you about Haya. Typical children's vitamins are basically just candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives that growing kids should just never eat. That's why Haya was created, a super-powered chewable vitamin. While many children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar, which is known to contribute to a variety of health issues, Haya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy additives, yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. I also love this not only for peace of mind that my kids are getting all of the vitamins and nutrients that they need, but it just shows up at my doorstep. You guys know I live for that because it's one less thing I have to think about as a parent. And guys, are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Well, Haya has now created Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids. It's packed with 55 plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. And the same multivitamin that more than 1 million kids and parents love are now available with Disney's The Lion King, with a new Lion King unboxing experience, including Lion King bottle and Lion King stickers. So cute. And I've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hayahealth.com/honest. This deal is not available on the regular website, so go to hayahealth.com/honest and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, I'm excited to talk to you guys about Foria. Foria is here to help you have really good sex and more of it. The kind that makes you feel nourished, juicy, and fully alive. They make life-changing, all-natural, organic formulas for your most intimate needs. My real podcast listeners will definitely remember this episode where I interviewed Keanu Reeves all about Foria. They have amazing products like their Awaken Arousal Oil, they've got sex oil, and intimacy melts. So with the Awaken Arousal Oil, imagine the best orgasm or sex you've ever had. Okay, now imagine that it could be even better with products that were designed to naturally enhance sexual pleasure and give you access to bigger and better orgasms. So what is an arousal oil? Awaken is like a juicy warm-up that helps you get really turned on, increasing your pleasure, deepening your orgasms, and increasing your connection with your partner or with yourself. So yes, you have my permission to try this. I fully endorse you to go ahead and treat yourself or your partner. Experience your juiciest and deepest sensual experience with a bottle of Foria. Foria is offering a special deal for my listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/honest or use code HONEST at checkout. That's FORIA wellness.com/honest for 20% off your first order. I recommend trying Awaken or their pleasure set with all 3 of their best sellers. Yes, you'll thank me later. Okay, you guys know I love Armra colostrum, so let's talk about it. In a world that's constantly changing, your health shouldn't be up for debate. From the latest wellness trends to the chaos of modern culture, we're always questioning what's real and what's just noise. But one thing is certain, your body wasn't designed for the nonstop stress, processed foods, and environmental toxins of today's world. Armra colostrum is nature's original superfood, packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that fortify gut health, strengthen immunity, revitalize hair growth, and fuel performance at the cellular level. Because no matter where you stand on the latest hot topic, feeling your best is never up for discussion. You guys know I love colostrum. I've been incorporating colostrum into my routine for probably close to 2 years. I've noticed a huge difference with my gut health. I've noticed it in my skin, my nails, my hair. I mean, I really can't say enough good stuff about colostrum. I also will put it in smoothies for my kids too, just because it is so good for your gut that if you have not tried Armra yet, guys, you're gonna want to, trust me. And I've worked out a special deal for my audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/honest or enter honest to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/honest. Okay, so Justin and I get into another little tiff, you guys. And Justin and I have been friends for 20 years. We've gotten in two, I wouldn't even call them fights, 2 little tiffs in our whole friendship. And then we got in 2 on tour, which is crazy. And I think it just speaks to where we were both at emotionally and physically, because we were just exhausted all around. But we're in the car and we're talking about the Q&A that I did, I guess the night before at the show, and how someone was basically like, you do it all and you make it look easy. And I'm like, I know from the outside world, I do make it look easy, but like, I don't do as much as people think. And Justin is saying to me that he wishes I would give myself more credit on stage. And it's just not me. I will never, ever, ever be able to get up in front of an audience of people and be like, yeah, I know I do a lot. I work really hard and I'm also a really good mom. And I can't do that. And I think part of it is I don't know any different. Like for me, this is just my life. I am someone who I thrive on going. Like I don't sit down, because once I sit down, I get tired. I crash. Like I don't like being bored. I've been like that my whole life, where I am just like, go, go, go. That is just in my blood. That's just who I am. And so it feels weird for me to give myself credit for that. But, I think for me, it's hard because to me, it felt like it was a criticism of what I could have done better on tour. And in my head, I'm like, okay, it's already done. And also that is so out of character for me. And I'll never do that. and then he changes course and he's like, well, no, I'm just saying like, I'm like giving you a compliment. And I'm like, no, but that's not how you started. Yeah. If you were like, I wish you would give yourself more credit because, you do a lot, I'd be like, thank you. I really do appreciate that. But like, I will just never do that. And to me at first, it just felt like he was saying I should be getting up there and having a different answer. And I'm like, I can't do that. That was where my frustration was coming from. We actually had this really great moment in the car too, because I was like, the best thing I learned in therapy, and I've talked about this on the podcast, was, if I'm talking and you're the listener, like here, I'm going to tell you how I feel. And then you basically repeat back to me like, okay, I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So you feel like, no matter what, you could never get up in front of an audience and give yourself credit. And so this conversation sort of feels like you can't win. And I'd be like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And he'd be like, okay, I totally understand that. Okay, now Justin is the talker and I'm the listener. And he's like, totally hear you. And that makes complete sense to me. I am just telling you as a friend of like, I see everything you're doing and I appreciate you. And I'm like, wow, okay, thank you so much. We had that moment in the car and we both actually felt so much better after. But of course, I wish you could, in a lot of ways, I wish the show was an hour, because then we could use a lot more of these real moments. But I also do think that it's great that the show is quick. So it is what it is. But we did have that really great like therapy moment in the car. So we get to New York City. And like I said, Scoot is here, which I'm so excited that Scoot's here. He comes in for the last night. And I love when the Bellas get to the theater. You can just tell certain people are just made for camera, are made for TV, because the Bellas come alive on camera. Like they've got personality. They've got they're just so fucking good on camera. And I think you can kind of tell from the whole season, who really pops on camera and who doesn't. And the Bellas, to me, really pop on camera. So because it's the last show, I'm fucking hyped, man. It's surreal. It's bittersweet. I'm like, this week actually flew by. Holy shit, I can't believe I made it to the last show. But I'm jacked because of it. And I will say, listen, the audience was kind of a bummer. And I don't want anyone who was there to take that personally. I know that a lot of people were really excited and were energetic and were trying to interact with me. I'm not saying everybody in the audience. I'm saying as a whole, it was the weakest audience that I experienced on the whole tour. Maybe also because it was also the biggest audience. I also think there's an element because it's New York City and New York and LA are a bit jaded. I'll stand by that. I stand by that. It's just the truth. And so, yeah, the audience wasn't nearly as good as some of the other audiences, and some things were not landing. And I don't know. It's not because I know that was in the trailer and people were like really taking that personally. It's not a personal knock on anybody who was there. And I love everyone who came. And actually, you see later when I'm doing the meet and greet, I mean, I literally was like, no one's going to be excited to meet me because that was the energy that I felt on stage. And then actually, that was probably my favorite meet and greet because everyone had a story. Everyone was really excited. I mean, like, people fucking showed up. And I do love meeting people for these moments because you guys, I film my podcast for the most part by myself talking into a camera at my house. And then it just goes out into the world. I really don't know the impact that it has or how it's resonating for people. I do get DMs and, you know, I'll occasionally see comments and stuff, but overall, like, I don't know how much it's making an impact. And doing this tour and getting to meet so many of you was the first time I was like, wow, it actually is really fucking resonating. And, you know, you see, because I came home from tour, I got really sick actually for 2 days. I was laid out for 2 days. And then I filmed my podcast tour wrap up that they use a little bit of in the finale here when I'm crying. And those emotions were so real. And I'm actually starting to get a little emotional now because getting to see firsthand that so many of you have a story about how my podcast or something that I've been through has helped you. And that for me is like, okay, this is why I'm doing it, you know, because sometimes I don't know, I'm just like, you know, spitting things against a wall and seeing what sticks. And that's why I came home on such a high because of moments like that. And so I don't want me saying that the audience was kind of a letdown to take that away at all, because then the meet and greet like really jacked me up again. And I was like, no, I mean, these people fucking care. And that makes me care. That's why I'm doing this. And so just, I really don't want anyone to take that personally. But okay, let's go back to Nikki and Brie. You know, they are they're so real, and talk about authentic. You guys know I really value authenticity, and I really appreciated them coming out, and especially Nikki coming off of a divorce and being so open and vulnerable. And, you know, Nikki says, because I asked them about, you know, in the press, if there's anything that they've ever read that's actually true, because, you know, most of the time it's not. And Nikki talks about how she's always sort of painted as the villain in the media. And yeah, I can relate to that. You know, it's just so interesting. I really do think it's like, if you're a woman and you have a really strong personality, and, you know, she was saying how like on the WWE, she's playing this character. She's like playing this character and like, yeah, she'll body slam a guy on the show, but like, that's not real. That's not her. And I have felt that coming from reality TV and playing a character. You know, it's hard. And I've realized actually during the past month with this show on TV and doing press and all these things, and, you know, because every time I'm on TV, it's like this wave of like all this shit again. And what I've come to the realization of here in the last month is I will forever be misunderstood. And I have to just get to a place of being okay with that. And I actually, guys, I really do feel like I'm okay with it now. I really do. I think the very beginning of this show and the press tour and everything, I was like, oh, it was like making me uncomfortable. And I decided, I think it was 2 weeks into the show, I was like, who gives a flying fuck? No matter what. And I've always known this, but no matter what I do or say, A, not everyone's going to agree with it. And B, people are always going to take shit out of context and always put their own personal lens on what I said from their trauma, how they grew up, their beliefs, their insecurities. Like, we all put a filter on everything in the world. And that's why actually you and I can have the same thing happen to us and have very different experiences. That's why a lot of times siblings have very different experiences of their parents or their aunts or their own sibling dynamic, because we all have a different lens that we're looking at the world through. And so I think notoriety, fame, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I think what that means for me is forever being misunderstood and having to be okay with it. And that's okay. And, you know, because the people who get it, which is my podcast listeners, it's you guys. You guys get me. You guys know me. That's what matters to me. Nothing else matters. It really doesn't matter. My favorite health brand is Symbiotica. You guys already know this because I always get so excited when I get to talk to you about them. And they are my favorite for really good reason. Symbiotica's products have been a staple in my health routine for years now. And they make it so incredibly easy, especially during the summer months when you're on the go, it's hot outside. The last thing you want to do is take supplements. But these all come in little individual pouches. They taste great. There's no excuse for even when you're on the road, when you're traveling. I always take the glutathione and the vitamin C with me whenever I'm on the road. They also just came out with a new sea moss packet. And I think unless you're living under a rock, you've definitely heard of all of the benefits of sea moss. I notice that when I'm consistent about these three products in particular, the vitamin C, the glutathione, and the sea moss, not only do I notice a difference in my skin and my nails and everything, but my immune system is functioning at optimal levels. I can travel and I never feel run down, even in the slightest. Sailor actually has a little cold right now, so I have been pumping her with the vitamin C packets, and it really is making a difference. I swear by these. And like I said, taking Symbiotica supplements is just one of the easiest ways I've found to stay consistent with my health goals, even during a busy summer. So guys, go to symbiotica.com/honest today to get 20% off plus free shipping. That's CYMBIOTIKA.com/honest to get 20% off plus free shipping. Okay, let's talk about Fora Travel. All right, picture this. You and your bestie have decided that this is the year you're going to go on that dream wellness retreat that you've been talking about forever, since college, since you graduated high school. But now what? Are you drowning in information and browser tabs, feeling paralyzed and not sure how to pick the best one? Or was planning a blast? You're already the go-to in your group and you have a full-on Google Doc with the best spots, itineraries, and hidden gems. Well, whichever one of these is you, Fora Travel will help make it even better than you've dreamed. So guys, travel agents are back. No, I mean it. And Fora is the modern travel agency. Fora advisors have access to the best training, the best partners, and the best tech, all strengthened by their global community of insiders who share knowledge so you can have the best trip. Make planning and traveling stress-free at no extra cost to you, by the way. Your Fora advisor cuts through the noise of comparing hotels, finding the perfect dinner reservations, and the nitty-gritty that goes along with it. They have all your confirmation numbers handy, room preferences squared away, and they're the ones to make sure you're picked up at the right airport terminal, even, yes, when your flight is 4 hours late. So whether you're looking to plan a trip or build a business planning trips, visit foratravel.com/honest and let them know that you came from Honest to learn what it means to travel upgraded. That's FORA travel.com/honest and let them know you came from Honest, because great travel doesn't just happen, it's planned. Here's a new brand I'm excited to talk to you guys about, and that is Simply Pop. Simply has launched a new prebiotic soda, Simply Pop, the new juicy soda. There are 5 flavors: pineapple mango, lime, strawberry, citrus punch, and fruit punch. They are made with real fruit juice, and Simply Pop supports gut health with 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. There's no sugar added, and it's sweetened with juices and monk fruit extract. They support immune health with zinc and vitamin C, and Simply Pop is flavor that pops. So guys, see what the fizz is all about. Simply Pop is a new fruit-forward bevy that happens when you combine the delicious real fruit flavors of Simply with 6 grams of prebiotic fiber to support gut health. I personally love their strawberry flavor because I love anything strawberry, so I was really excited to try their strawberry flavor. And you guys, it was so good, but honestly, I've tried all of them and they're all really good. I even love having peace of mind giving these to my kids, knowing that it's great for their gut health. It's great for their immune system. So we are loading up on these things. All right, you guys are going to want to try these if you haven't already. Find Simply Pop and any of its 5 juicy flavors by visiting them online at cokeurl.com/simplypop. That's COKEURL.com/simplypop. cokeurl.com/simplypop. And so I really love how Honestly Cavallari ends. And, like I said, so we go to Flaming Saddles. It's this gay bar with these gay guys dancing on the bars. It's like the gay version of Coyote Ugly, sort of. And they get me up on the bar dancing. I literally was up there for 5 seconds because I was kind of uncomfortable being up there. I didn't really want to be up there, but I knew it would be a great shot for the end of the show. And it was like, all right, I'll fucking do it for 2 seconds. So I got up there and I'm really happy I did because I love how they ended the show with this moment up on the bar, going out in New York City for the final night, cutting it with my actual podcast. That emotion was so raw and so real because it was right off of my tour that we couldn't have captured that in the interview chair, not to that level anyways. And so this show, you guys, has felt so real. It was so authentic. I'm so happy I did it. Look, now I'm getting emotional again. Because I got to tell you, like, after 21 years of being in the entertainment world, this show did what I set out to do. More, actually, than the podcast tour itself did. Because doing a show, you got to see way more of the behind the scenes. You got to see me in my house with my kids. You got to see my real life, my real emotion, the real shit I'm going through. And finally, you got to see me for who I am rather than playing a character. And I'm so thankful to E! And Bravo and Peacock and, NBC really. And Alex Baskin, who produced the show, and Ailey, my showrunner, and everyone who worked on the show, because my goal was to make it really authentic. And everyone who worked on this show made that possible. And it was my favorite show to film, as chaotic as this week was. I loved it. And midway through tour, I was like, I'll never fucking do this again. There's no way. I would love to do it again. I'm ready. Let's do it again. Let's go on another podcast tour. Let's do a season 2. I just know where I was at coming off of this tour. I was on such a fucking high because I accomplished my biggest fear, which was public speaking. I've told you guys. And oh God, that felt good. It really felt good. I walked away from this tour thinking, if I can do this, I can do fucking anything. And I feel like I've actually kind of maintained that. And I love then that the very last scene is with 2 of my 3 kids. Jackson was at a friend's house this day. I was like, Mosey, you're not going to be in the final scene. He was like, whatever. But I love that they ended with the kids and Camden both of them, but Camden talking into the camera. It's genius. That's called breaking the fourth wall in the production world, where you like acknowledge the cameras and acknowledge what's going on. And I love those moments because it doesn't get more real than that. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching the show. Thank you for listening to the podcast and just for being on this journey with me. I really, after the tour, I felt really humbled and grateful. And I feel that again with the show ending. And I don't know, I've just been able to carry those emotions with me. And again, I'll say it till the day I die. It's because of you guys. You guys have made my whole fucking career possible. I'll never take that for granted. So thank you as always. I love you as always. I don't even know what's happening in the podcast world next week. I can't remember. I got some good shit coming up. I'm also going to take a couple weeks off this summer. Patty Stanger is coming up, the Millionaire Matchmaker. Where are my millennials at? You guys will love and appreciate that one. And then don't forget, though, for the next few Thursdays, we are going to continue to have bonus episodes with the actual live podcast shows. And make sure, if you're watching it on Peacock, the 2 final shows are next week. Tomorrow? I don't know, guys. I can't keep it all straight. I love you, though. I'll see you guys soon.